We're going to work on adding and subtracting fractions in this new lesson. So we're on Module 3, Lesson 5, Page A, the second packet that I posted in Canvas for you for Thursday, April 9th. So what fractional part of this figure is shaded? Explain your reasoning. So this is something like we've been doing. If you had these all laid out in a straight line, you'd count and go, oh, there's 16 boxes and 4 are shaded. And we can do that method because notice all the boxes are the same size. So we can say 4 are shaded out of a total of 16. So explain your reasoning. This would be the number shaded. This would be the total. How many make a whole? But just like any other fraction we write, we do have to simplify. So we could look and say they're both even. So we could use 2, or we could get something even larger. 4 goes into 4. Does 4 go into 16? Yes, it does. And we learned in the last lesson that as long as you divide or multiply by the same number, that will be dividing or multiplying by 1. So we're not changing the fraction value, we're just simplifying, changing its looks. So that would be 1/4. And you can see that is 1/4 of the picture that is shaded. Why are we allowed to do that? Because all the boxes are the same size. So this is back from Module 2 as well. It's just now in a box format instead of a long line like they were in Module 2. But this lesson is going to introduce us to different types of problems. Now the boxes aren't all the same size. So we need a new tactic, and addition and subtraction of fractions is going to work for us. So what several students do, the majority who don't practice this on Alex and who don't look back at their notes, they do 1/2 plus 1/3. Well, that isn't going to do it because 1/2 plus 1/3 is 5/6, and this is not 5/6 shaded, which is almost a whole. So what we have to do is look at each part separately. So does everybody agree this is half of the picture? Right? Because there's 2 rows. So what part is shaded? Half. So this is half of 1/2. Because that's half the rectangle, and then the bottom is the other half. So do you guys remember what of means in math? Of means multiply. So it's 1/2 times 1/2. Multiplications are easy operation because we just multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. So that is 1/4. And just think about it. If you cut this into 4 equal pieces, let's just draw it down here. If you made both rows look like this, wouldn't that be equal to 1/4? So this is the mathematical way, this is the picture way, and you can do either way you want. I'll show you both ways on this first one. So this is the other half of the picture, and it has 1/3 shaded. So it's 1/3 of half of the picture. Or half of the whole, we could say. So 1/3 of half of the whole would be 1/3 times 1/2. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 2 is 6. So now we can say, well, let's go ahead and do the picture part so you can see. So this comes out 1/4. Now make a rectangle with both rows cut into 3. And you'll see why this is 1/6. So if we make both rows cut into 3, And we just shade that one little box. Do you see why that would be 1/6 now? So if you're mathematically minded, maybe this is easier. If you learn better from drawing pictures and trying to figure it out that way, this would be better. Either way, does everyone agree we're going to be adding 1/4 and 1/6 to see what part of this picture is shaded? So 1/4 is that, 1/6 is that. So when we add fractions, just like we practiced on the last lesson, we need a common denominator, just like when you're comparing. And remember, there's not just one common denominator. There's the smallest one, but it doesn't matter which one you pick. If you pick a larger one, so the smallest one is 12. Lots of people will multiply these and get 24. Either way, we'll end up with the same answer, just the person that picked 24 will have more simplifying to do at the end. So the trick I use to find a common denominator is I take the larger one, and I know I showed this to you before, and I start doing multiples. Does 4 go into 6? No. So that's 6 times 1. So do 6 times 2, 12. Of course, 6 goes into 12. Does 4 go into 12? Yes. So there's my common denominator. That's called the least common denominator because it's the smallest one that's common. But like I said, if you're not good at that and you just want to multiply and make it 120 or make them both 24, that's fine. We'll get the same answer in the end. So now using the techniques from the last lesson, we say, what do we have to multiply 6 by to get 12? And that's 2. So that means we also have to do 2 up here. And I always do it in another color just so I can see that it is in fact 1. I've remembered to do both of them, so multiplying by 1 will not change. Whoops, that's supposed to be 3. Will not change the value of the fraction. It will give me an equivalent fraction. So 4 goes into 12 3 times, so I need to multiply 4 by 3, which means I need to multiply the 1 by 3. So now my new answer is going to be 2 12ths plus 3 12ths, which is 5 12ths. So 5 12ths, which is a little less than a half, because 6 12ths is a half. So does that look like a little less than a half of the picture shaded? I'd say that sounds reasonable. And you should always make sure your answer is reasonable. When I give this test, I have a lot of students that'll have an answer bigger than 1. And I'm like, well, this is 1, so there's no way the answer could be bigger than 1. The only way it could be equal to 1 is if everything's shaded. So always make sure it makes sense. 6 12ths is a half. This is a little less than a half, and that looks like little less than a half is shaded. Okay, so I think we have one for practice back here. Yes, we have 3 more. So I'll do this one with you, and then when we get to the review page, then we can you can try some on your own. And if you want to stop the video and try this one right now, go for it. Okay. Okay, this is cut into 3 pieces. So do we all agree this is 1/3 of the picture? Yes. Because there's 3 rows, so that's 1/3. So what do we have shaded? Half of that third. So half of is times the third. And let's go ahead and write all of our fractions out on this one. So this is also a third. It's 1 out of 3 rows, and a third is shaded. So this is a third of a third. So 1/3 of 1/3 of the whole is shaded. And this one is another third, and we have 1/4 of that third shaded. So just think of this as 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and we have 1/4 of that 1/3 shaded. So let's multiply. 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 3 is 6, 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 3 is 9, 1 times 1 is 1, 4 times 3 is 12. So hopefully we're all in agreement that 1/6 plus 1/9 plus 1/12 will give me the total amount shaded in that unit. So 1/6 plus 1/9 plus 1/12. So let's do that little trick I showed you up there where you list the largest number. So find the largest denominator, which is 12, and start doing multiples. Does 6 go into 12? Yes. Does 9 go into 12? No. So that was 12 times 1. So let's do 12 times 2, 24. Does 6 go into 24? Yes. Does 9 go into 24? No. So then let's do 12 times 3. 12 times 3 is 36. Does 6 go into 36? Yes. Does 9 go into 36? Ding, ding, ding. And we know 12 does. So there is our common denominator. So that's kind of the easiest way to, especially if you're a visual learner, to find that common denominator. Focus in on the largest and just start doing multiples. 12 times 1, 12 times 2, 12 times 3, until you find a number they all three go into. So we're going to change these three all to 36. And remember, if you change the denominator, you must also change the numerator. So don't bring down 1, 1, 1. That would be incorrect. You ask yourself, how many times does 6 go into 36? And that would be 6. But if you multiply by 6 in the denominator, you must also multiply by 6 in the numerator. And 9 goes into 36 4 times, so multiply both the numerator and denominator by 4. 12 goes in 1, 2, 3, so times 3 times 3. So that's going to leave us 6 plus 4 plus 3. So that's 10 and 3, 13 over 36. And just like up here, we have to look and make sure it can't simplify. Nothing goes into both 5 and 12. 5's prime. Same with 13. 13's prime. 13 times 3 is 39, but not 36. So since it's prime, that means that cannot be simplified. And like I said, 13 times 3 is 39, so it's about 1/3 of the picture shaded. Yep, that makes sense. Okay. And we have 3 more coming up later, so if you feel like, ooh, that's something I need some practice on, we'll have 3 more and you can shut off your video and try them first on your own. Okay, so that was your introduction to addition. Now we're going to practice addition with the manipulatives. We're not going to do it with manipulatives. We're going to do it with the pictures instead, but just imagine what the manipulatives look like. Okay, so this color we're going to call maroon. So this maroon figure is called a double hexagon. So 2 yellow hexagons, they painted them a maroon color, so now they call them a double hex or a double hexagon. So let 2 yellow hexagons represent one whole. So this is my 1. This is my unit. So how many of these? Nope. Let's back up. Determine the value. So this is 1 out of 2, because 2 of these make that. So this is 1/2 of the whole, right? Because it's 1 out of, and you can draw your, oh, I guess red's not going to show. You can draw your little line there and see that it's 1 out of 2. So it's half of the whole. The trapezoid, we could do something similar. We could say there's a trapezoid. There's 2 trapezoids, so we have a total of 4. So this trapezoid is 1 out of the whole is 4. And I don't know if you remember, but the rhombus, the blue rhombus from when we were doing the manipulatives, there were 3 of them in a hexagon. So I'm going to pick up from there on the next video because I see this one's getting ready to